Welcome, dear viewers. You're joining academic Dr. Lilia here on the Popular Science Encyclopedia channel for another deep dive into the world of sci-fi cinema. In today's episode, we'll be exploring the TV serial Severance, unpacking its storyline and examining the science behind its themes. Ready to journey into the fascinating intersection of film and science? Let's get started. Alright, let's dive into Severance, a show that's as gripping as it is mind-bending. Imagine you're sitting across from me, and I'm about to walk you through all the nuances of this fascinating series. What is Severance? A high-level look at the concept. Severance is set in a world where a corporate biotech company called Lumon Industries has developed a controversial severance procedure. This procedure splits employees' memories into work and personal selves, effectively creating two separate personas within a single individual. Mark Scout, played by Adam Scott, is our central character. He leads a team in the Severed department at Lumon, where employees remember nothing about their personal lives while at work and, conversely, retain no work memories once they leave the office. Mark's team consists of three other Severed employees: Helly R., Britt Lower, Irving B., John Turturro, and Dylan G., Zach Cherry. Each member has agreed to the procedure for different personal reasons, but they all experience the existential confusion and psychological consequences of living dual lives. The narrative primarily unfolds through Mark's journey as his work self begins to suspect that Lumon is hiding dark secrets. Severance is a psychological thriller that blends sci-fi and corporate satire to create a deeply unsettling narrative. The series takes place in an alternate near-future world where a mysterious company, Lumon Industries, offers a radical solution to work-life balance. By undergoing a procedure called severance, employees effectively split their memories into two separate identities, one for work and one for their personal lives. This means they have no recollection of their home life while in the office, and they forget all work-related experiences once they leave. The concept is chilling because it asks a simple yet profound question. What happens when the boundaries between our work and personal lives are forcibly erased? Severance not only explores the psychological implications of such a system but also examines themes of power, control, and the human desire for autonomy. Severance, a thought-provoking exploration of identity and control. Severance is a psychological thriller series that combines sci-fi with dark corporate satire, exploring the dystopian concept of splitting identities to separate work and personal lives. This thought-provoking narrative, created by Dan Erickson, raises questions about memory, autonomy, and the human psyche as characters grapple with the radical idea of severance, a medical procedure offered by the mysterious Lumon Industries that divides an employee's consciousness into two separate identities, one that only functions at work, and another that only exists outside of it. This means employees have no awareness of their personal lives while at work and no recollection of work once they leave. Adam Scott portrays Mark Scout, the protagonist whose life is fractured by the severance procedure. As the department head, he starts to question both his life choices and Lumon's true intentions. Patricia Clarkson plays Mrs. Selvig, a shadowy figure closely linked to Mark's life and Lumon. Britt Lower stars as Helly, a new recruit whose curiosity about the severance process fuels much of the intrigue in Season 1. John Turturro as Irving, a veteran employee who begins to doubt his loyalty to Lumon. Christopher Walken as Bert, an enigmatic colleague with a mysterious past. Each actor brings complexity and vulnerability to their role, especially as their characters begin to challenge their divided lives. Episode Guide. Season 1 without spoilers. The first season introduces viewers to the severed world of Lumon Industries and delves into the characters' fragmented identities. Here's a breakdown of the season's thematic direction across key episodes, carefully avoiding spoilers. Orientation. We're introduced to the bizarre concept of severance and watch as Helly R. arrives at Lumon, forced to reconcile with her new workplace persona. Her confusion becomes a vehicle for the audience to see the oddities of Lumon's culture and the severe limits placed on severed employees. Work relationships. This episode explores the bonds between the employees, who, despite being cut off from their real lives, form connections that help them cope with Lumon's rigid control. The claustrophobic environment amplifies the psychological strain on the team. Discovery. Mark's work self begins to notice anomalies within the company, as small details in the workspace trigger a cascade of questions about Lumon's motives and the severance process itself. Breaking free. As suspicions grow, the severed employees discover ways to test the boundaries of their personas, and glimpses into Lumon's more sinister undertakings begin to emerge. Confrontation. A climactic episode that confronts the power struggle between employees and the upper management, setting the stage for Mark and his team's collective resolve to expose the truth behind Severance. The season finale intensifies the narrative, ending on a cliffhanger that leaves viewers pondering the moral implications of Severance and the full extent of Lumon's power. Plot overview and episode breakdown, spoiler-free. In Season 1, Mark Scout and his colleagues, Helly, Irving, and Dylan, navigate their severed work lives at Lumon. The season follows Mark's growing unease with the separation between his professional and personal identities, as well as his dawning realization that Lumon may have darker motives. The show builds suspense by slowly revealing Lumon's disturbing practices and the cracks in the employees' severed lives, challenging viewers to consider the psychological and moral ramifications of such a procedure. Episode 1, Goodbye. Ben introduces Mark, grappling with personal loss and the demands of his role at Lumon. Episode 2, The Severed, sees Mark questioning his experiences at work and suspecting that Lumon may not be entirely transparent. Episode 3, The Silent Room, provides insight into Lumon's operations, with Mark's team beginning to sense something unsettling. Episode 4, The Key to the Puzzle, sees Mark discovering clues that link his work life with something larger. Episode 5, Two Realms, delves into Mark's personal struggles, setting up a growing tension within his severed life. Episode 6, The Unseen Thread, sees the employees bonding over shared doubts, setting the stage for conflict with Lumon's control. Scientific insights, scientific and psychological analysis. Severance explores fascinating scientific and psychological themes, questioning the ethics and implications of splitting human consciousness. Let's dive into these ideas. Memory alteration and identity. The series raises critical questions about the role of memory in forming identity. Neuroscientific research suggests that our memories contribute significantly to our self-identity, sense of continuity, and psychological stability. The severance procedure disrupts this connection, creating isolated identities that can't integrate their experiences fully. Cognitive dissonance and dissociative identity. By splitting personal and work identities, Severance invokes dissociative identity disorder, though it's artificially induced. This parallels psychological theories of cognitive dissonance, where conflicting aspects of self lead to mental strain and discomfort, potentially causing breakdowns. Mark's work self, for example, suffers from gaps that he cannot reconcile, forcing his psyche to rebel against the limitations Lumon imposes. Ethics of workplace control and privacy. Lumon's severance method embodies an extreme form of workplace control, exploring the controversial subject of employees' autonomy and privacy. This idea echoes real-world concerns about how invasive technologies could allow employers access to workers' private selves, potentially violating ethical and human rights. Implications for real-world brain-computer interface technologies. Modern neuroscience and AI research already flirt with the concept of altering consciousness, such as with brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, aimed at restoring lost neural function. While promising for therapeutic purposes, Severance warns of how such technologies might be abused by corporations, providing a cautionary reflection on the ethical boundaries of future neuroscience. Final thoughts. Severance uses its unique storytelling to question where we draw the line on personal autonomy and psychological manipulation. It challenges viewers to consider how modern workplaces influence our sense of self and poses crucial questions about how far we would allow corporate entities to intervene in our lives. By connecting these futuristic themes with present-day ethical dilemmas, Severance offers a powerful and thought-provoking narrative that resonates beyond the screen. Severance takes inspiration from real-world discussions on memory manipulation and the nature of identity. While the technology to create a severed consciousness doesn't exist, the show's concept reflects genuine neuroscience questions about memory compartmentalization. Our brains, through neuroplasticity, adapt to new experiences. But being forced to maintain two isolated personas would likely cause severe psychological distress and destabilize one's sense of self. The series cleverly explores these scientific themes by examining how the severance procedure impacts personal agency, relationships, and mental health, all while questioning the ethical boundaries of corporate power. Season 2. What's next? Severance has been renewed for a second season, which promises to explore even darker elements of Lumon's work and the character's evolving fight for autonomy. Fans are eagerly awaiting further revelations about Lumon's intentions and what lies ahead for Mark and his team. Severance offers a brilliant blend of suspense, philosophical depth, and psychological exploration, making it one of the most compelling series in recent times. Its exploration of memory, identity, and the lengths to which corporations might go to control their employees ensures it remains relevant and thought-provoking. If you enjoy narratives that are both intellectually stimulating and emotionally engaging, Severance is a must-watch. Creators and behind-the-scenes talent. Let's talk about the brilliant minds behind Severance. Creator, writer, director. Dan Erickson is the creator of Severance, and his vision for the series is both unique and unsettling. He's crafted a world where corporate dystopia meets psychological drama, all while raising thought-provoking questions about the nature of consciousness and memory. Executive producer, director. Ben Stiller, yes, the comedian-turned-director, is at the helm as one of the executive producers and directors. His direction here is sharp, and he brings a subtle tension to the narrative that's not typical of his comedic roles. Lead writer, Dan Erickson, again, is responsible for the intricate and often cryptic writing that fuels the show's suspense. Main cast. The cast is phenomenal, and each actor brings depth to their character, making the psychological drama even more intense. Adam Scott as Mark Scout, the central character. Mark is the head of the severed department at Lumon Industries. He's trying to make sense of his split life and his mysterious work, which is integral to the show's tension. Patricia Clarkson as Mrs. Selvig, an enigmatic figure connected to Mark's life. Britt Lower as Helly, a new recruit at Lumon who begins to question the severance process. John Turturro as Irving, a longtime severed employee who becomes more curious about the purpose of his work. Christopher Walken as Bert, a fellow severed employee with a complex past. The cast brings incredible depth to the series, especially with their portrayal of characters who, despite having no memories of each other, seem to develop strong interpersonal relationships. Thank you for watching today's video. If you found this content insightful, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any future updates. Your support means a lot, so please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I look forward to seeing you again with new and exciting videos. I'm eager to continue sharing fascinating knowledge from the captivating world of science.